Welcome to Mainline Baits, Carp Fishing TV, and a new series of videos about tips and tactics. And right now, we're going to take a deep dive into PVA sticks. Let's go. Right then, for those of you that have only just perhaps started carp fishing or have never used PVA sticks before, they're a brilliant method for getting a small amount of bait directly around the hook bait and leaving a pile of attraction that's easy for the carp to find. So here it is, and you can see why it gets its name, the PVA stick. It's about 2 inches long, and you've got your crushed bait inside that, surrounded by a very thin coating of PVA that when cast into the lake, the PVA melts, leaving a small parcel of attraction directly around your hook bait. So when and why will I fish a PVA stick like this? Now for me, they're at their absolute best at short to medium range when it's easy to be accurate. They're particularly good for like casting activity, say some bubbling, say you've seen a show, say the water's coloured. You know, a single hook bait can be really effective, but it's never going to be as effective as that amount of attraction directly around any hook bait. Now they're also particularly good for stopping tangles on your rig, because obviously you're adding weight to the hook bait that will keep it away from the lead during flight. And they're also really good for masking the hook point. Say that you're fishing into soft silt, say you're fishing over some leaves, keeps that hook point sort of in the bait until the PVA has melted on top of any of that debris. And finally, and perhaps the best thing about using a tiny pile of bait just like this in a PVA mesh stick, is that you can carry on from the confidence of having been using your chosen bait throughout the year. Say you've been using Cell, say you've been using Isofish, say you've been using the Link, and you've been doing well on that, but it's gone cold, the activity levels are dropping off. You don't want to put out that big amount of bait to draw them in, but you still want to have that same sort of food signal pumping from around your hook bait. Now this is a brilliant way to do that when it gets really cold. So I've explained what a PVA stick is, I've explained when I like to use them, and now I'm going to tell you exactly how I made the ones that I have here. Now starting with the Isofish dedicated stick and bag mix, I take a small amount of that, pour it into my bait tub of choice. Don't go too mad, just a little bit. And then I've used the matching dedicated Isofish stick and bag liquid. Now, you want a good amount of that in there, but not too much. You're trying to wet the particles so they sink and get as much attraction into it as you possibly can, but at the same time, you don't want it absolutely sort of sticky and messy. So little and often, squirt that in there, mix it through with your hands. You want it sort of nice and fluffy, but well saturated in the liquid. And once you've sort of got it to a consistency that you're happy with, I would leave it sort of 10 minutes to half an hour, run it through your fingers again, mix it up, and just be sure that it is right before you sort of leave it. At that point, I would sprinkle in a few pellets. Again, don't go mad, just a small little handful. You're just trying to add a few sort of bigger items of attraction to that stick mix, but you don't want loads in there so that the stick doesn't form. And then from there, it's a simple case of taking your PVA sort of dispenser with the scoop. Mine's got a little scoop on the end. Take that through your mix, sort of look at it against the light, sort of get a gauge of how much you've got in there, and then plunge it down with the plunger that comes inside the stick. But don't go wild with that. You're not trying to compress it into an indestructible stick. You know, you're just trying to sort of firm the particles together. And once you've done that, push the bait out the end of the stick and just finish it off with an overhand knot on top. Now, obviously the Isofish one is dark. You can get the matching stick liquid and stick mix in all of the baits in the range. But if you're not carrying, say, a dedicated stick mix and you still want to fish a PVA stick, you can do that as I have here. I've just simply put cell in this case, but you can use any boilie of your choice. Put it through a crusher. I've used a Ridge Monkey one. You could use a little handheld korda one if need be. Run that through the crusher, and again, you can add any liquid of your choice. You could use the dedicated cell stick and bag mix liquid, as I have, or as I have in the past, use the smart liquid. I love the cell smart liquid, but any of the smart liquids would be equally as effective. So there you have it. PVA sticks, very easy to do and very, very effective. Now, as you can see, the Isofish one is quite dark and the cell one is quite pale. Now, if you're fishing in clear water for what could be, say, spooky fish, and you wanted something sort of low vis but high attraction, this could be a really good option. But if the water's a little bit coloured, maybe, and you want that sort of, once it's melted, that little glowing patch that the fish can really zone in on, then that might be a better option. But both really effective. And once you've got a few tied up in your bait tubs like so, it's a simple case of threading your splicing needle through the length of the PVA stick, threading that onto your hook link, and just making sure the hook point is just nicked into the edge of the bait, and there you have it, ready to rock and roll. Ha ha ha, PVA sticks, simple but extremely effective. And if ever you needed proof in the pudding that they're a good tactic, then this is that. A lovely Blasford Hill common, probably a mid-20. Really hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. There he goes.